So you're thinking about moving to Connecticut and somebody just told you the mill rate went down. Before you rush to buy a house in that town, I need to explain to you what actually happened. I'm Dave Jones with Dave Jones Realty, and I need to fix whatever they told you before you base your home purchase on that misinformation. 25 Connecticut towns cut their mill rate this year, not by a little. Some of them were by a lot. My own town, Prospect, cut from 32.14 down to 25.57. If you saw those numbers alone, you would think your tax bill's about to drop. But guess what? I just got my tax bills. They all went up. So today I'm going to run through exactly what a Connecticut mill rate actually is and why 25 towns just dropped theirs by almost 30%, and how to figure out what you're really going to pay before you write an offer. At the end of this, I'm going to show you two Connecticut towns where one has half the mill rate of the other, but it has a higher tax bill. The first thing I think we need to go over is what the heck is a mill rate. A mill is $1 of tax for every $1,000 of assessed value. So mill rate of 30 on a house assessed at 300,000, do a little math, that's $9,000 a year. And here's the piece that trips everybody up moving into the state. Your assessment is not your home's value. It's 70% of your home's value on the day of the assessment. So a house worth 400,000 gets assessed around 280, and you pay the mill rate on that 280. The number also is not a direct correlation to your home's value. So make sure you understand that. That's the formula though. The town's appraised value of your home, which again is not the real value of your home, so don't misunderstand that. The value times 0.7 times the mill rate divided by 1,000. So write that down. Value times 0.7 times the mill rate divided by 1,000. Because you're going to use that on every house we look at. Now, why did 25 towns cut their mill rate? Let me use my own town because I've lived in Prospect my whole entire life, and this happened to me. And I own quite a bit of property here in Prospect. Prospect's mill rate was 32.14. This year, it went to 25.57. So it looks like the town cut 20%. Prospect did not cut anybody's taxes. Let's be clear about that. Mayor Bob's a great mayor, but he's not a fool. He's running the town, and that money is needed for all the bills. Prospect had a reevaluation. Every 5 years, it's supposed to be, Connecticut towns are required to go back and reassess every property to the current market value. Now, take this with a grain of salt because no appraiser is going to your house to look at every single part to set the actual value. What they do is a drive-by assessment. They're looking at the field card. They're looking at it from their car. They typically do 50 to 100 houses a day. So they're obviously not looking at the details. So again, take this with a grain of salt. The assessed value is not the market value. And what's happened in the state since the last time most of these towns did the assessments? Prices went up 40, 50, sometimes 60%. So what does the town do? They reassess. Everybody's assessed value jumps. And the town still needs the same amount of money to run the schools, plow the roads, to pave the roads, to do everything the town needs to do, pay the salaries. So what do? If the prices went up 60%, they can't go up 60% on the taxes. So they drop the mill rate. And if they left it alone, they would collect 60% more, and that's not feasible. So the rate goes down because the values went up. That's the whole story. But they always progress up a little bit. Nobody's taxes are going to go down. So real quick, before I keep going, tell me in the comments what town you're looking at, just the town name, and I'll tell you straight up whether or not it reevaluated yet or if it's coming, because that one fact changes how you should read every tax number you're seeing online right now. So let me show you something that is on a town that is not my town, Woodbridge. Woodbridge's mill rate last year, 41.53, then to 42.64, then to 43.77, then to 45.08, then last year 46.43, but now this year 32.62. So look at that. 5 straight years the town increased it every single year, and then it falls almost 14 points. So ask yourself the obvious question. Did Woodbridge all of a sudden cut the town budget by 30%? Did they close a school? Did they lay off the police department? No, of course they didn't. Nobody cuts a budget 30%. What happened is the assessment went up so much that 32.62 mill rate now collects the same money, if not more, than the 46.43 used to collect. And this is the part that matters to you. When your assessment goes up 50% and the rate goes down 30%, you are not breaking even. Some people may pay the same, but some people are going to pay more. Some people are going to pay a lot more because a reevaluation doesn't move every house the same amount. It moves each house by what that specific house did. So if you're in a neighborhood that got hot and your house value went up 60% while the town average went up 40%, your bill is going to be a little higher than people a couple streets over. Even though the headline says the town cut taxes, it's a trap. The mill rate is a town-wide number. Your bill is a house-by-house number. They're not the same thing, and they do not move together. And I want to be straight with you about what I can and I can't tell you here. I can't sit and tell you your bill went up because I don't know your house. Nobody does until the assessment card comes out. What I can tell you flat out is that a mill rate going down is not a tax cut. And anybody telling you otherwise does not understand or is trying to sell you something. The town collects the same money, if not more money, because bills go up, salaries go up, the cost of the school goes up. Single biggest line item in every town budget is the school. It just divides differently. So if you're on the good side, some of you might not be. And here's the mistake I watch people make constantly, and it costs them real money. Somebody's looking at 2 towns. One has a mill rate of 20. One has a mill rate of 38. They cross town B off the list and never look at it again. They won't even drive it. They won't even consider it. That decision is being made on a number that doesn't mean what they think it means. Because if town A just reevaluated and their assessments are current, that's 70% of what the house might sell for today. And if town B hasn't reevaluated in 4 years, sometimes as many as 8 years, its assessment of 70% of what the houses were back then. So you've got 2 towns with 2 completely different rates being applied to 2 completely different bases. And comparing the rates alone won't tell you everything. You have to do the whole formula every time. The value, not the market value, the town's appraised value, times 0.7 times the rate. If you're watching this and you're thinking, okay, I understand, but I don't want to run math on 40 towns by myself, good news, that's our job. Get on a Zoom with us. We will hook you up with one of our great agents, find somebody that's a good fit for you, and help you become a owner. Or if you're trying to get out of the state because the taxes keep going up, that's our specialty. We can help you sell and get to your next chapter. All right, let me give you the 25 towns that reevaluated this year, because if you're shopping in any of these towns, the tax picture you're looking at online might be brand new. Mansfield down 34.5%. Old Lyme down 33.5%. Thompson down 32.4%. West Haven down 30.1%. Brantford down 29.8%. Woodbridge down 29.7%. 25 towns. I think I'll put them all up on the screen so you can see every single one of them. Every single one of them dropped 10% or more, and most of them dropped quite a bit more than that. Now, let me actually run through the formula on a few of these so you can see what the town cost is in real dollars instead of in mill rate. Putnam's rate of 17.9, a median sales price of $333. Run it out and your tax bill is roughly $4,172 a year. One of the lowest real numbers in a state where you can buy and actually live comfortably. Thompson has a rate of 19 with a median sales price of 400,000. That's about 5,320 a year. Windsor Locks rate of 23.99 with a median sales price of 315 puts taxes at about $5,290. Mansfield's 20 mil rate with a median sales price of 400 will put you right at about $5,600. West Haven's rate of 25.58 with a median sales price of 350 will put you at about 6,267. And West Haven's on the water, on the rail line, 15 minutes from downtown New Haven. That's a great option. Brantford's 6,046, Voluntown's 6,418, Coventry's 6,453, Wallingford's 6,669. Those are annual property tax numbers on the median home sale prices in those towns, and every one of them is under $7,000 a year. In Connecticut, in 2026, that's not what a lot of people think a house is going to cost you. So now let me flip that, because the same formula cuts the other way. And this is where the low mill rate towns get you. Woodbridge, the rate we talked about was 32.62, which looks like a whole lot better than the 46.43 it used to be. The median sales price in Woodbridge is just about $700,000. So run the formula. Your tax bill is just under $16,000 a year. $15,961. That's $1,330 a month in property taxes alone before you have a mortgage, before you have insurance, before you turn on the lights or heat the house with oil. That's a lot. Monroe's rated 28.67, which is perfectly reasonable looking until you see the $627,000 median price, which puts the taxes at $12,583. While we're here, there's a second Connecticut tax, which nobody moving in from out of state sees coming. In fact, I get asked about this one quite a bit. Connecticut taxes your cars. Even if you have a business, you're going to pay personal property tax on your tables, on your bookshelves, on your cameras, on your TVs. It is a bill that comes every year. Now, the state capped that one for motor vehicles. The cap is 32.46 for most of Connecticut. And if your town's property rate is below that, you just pay the lower one. So in Prospect at 25.57, Oxford's is 20.01. There are about 40 other towns. It's going to max out at the 32.46 because the town's mill rate is higher than that. It's not a huge number on older vehicles, but if you have a new vehicle, even something like a Ford Explorer, you're talking about $1,000 a year on a newer car. And it shows up in July when you're not expecting it, when you're not budgeting for it, when you're getting ready to go on vacation. Let's get back to the houses now and what just happened there. Woodbridge has a lower mill rate than Naugatuck. Monroe has a lower mill rate than Bristol. And those bills in Woodbridge and Monroe are double. The rate went down and the bill went up because the houses are bigger and more valuable. That's the entire lesson in one sentence, and I want you to carry it with you every time you go to a listing. These towns are the honest ones right now. Think about it. In a town that just reevaluated, the assessment on the house you're looking at is current. It reflects what the house is actually worth today, approximately. So when you run the value at 0.7 times the rate, you get something very close to a real number. You will see what's going on with eyes wide open. Now let's walk through what that looks like on an actual house, because this is where it gets practical. So if you're looking at two houses, both listed at 400,000 in two different towns, town one reevaluated this year, that house is going to be assessed right around 280,000 because it is 70%. That's what it's worth right now. Approximately. I keep saying that because it's not the actual value, so don't think that. You then multiply by the rate, and you've got your bill. The bill's stable for the next 5 years or so. Depending on what the town does with the budget, there might be a slight increase, but nothing like this. The next town hasn't reevaluated since 2021. The same $400,000 house might be assessed at $250,000 or $240,000 because it's carrying a value from before it ran up. So your bill's lower, maybe meaningfully lower. You look at these two houses, the same price, and one has a smaller tax bill, and you feel like it's an easy call. Let's pick that one. It's not an easy call because the second house has a bill that's going to move and the first one doesn't. In a town that has not reevaluated in 4 or 5 years, the assessment on the house is stale. It's based on an older, lower value, which means your bill today is lower than the formula suggests. Sounds great, right? It's not great because the reeval is coming. Every town in Connecticut does it. It's just a matter of when it actually cycles through. It's not an option, but when it lands, the gap between what your house is assessed at and what your house is actually worth closes all at once. I've had people call me 2 years after they bought, genuinely upset because their tax bill jumped and they had no idea it could possibly do that. Nobody told them. They looked at the mill rate, they did some quick math, they bought the house, and then the town caught up to them. And I'll tell you honestly, a lot of times agents don't know this. They don't warn their people. You have to keep in mind that taxes can change, especially if you're doing any improvements to the house. Are you doing a new patio? Are you doing a new deck? Even a new roof, new windows, siding? All of that's going to change the assessment. Nobody asked me about reevaluation because nobody knew to ask. I try to bring it up on every single deal now, whether the buyer asks or not. So don't be that person. Ask the question. And here's the thing I want you to hear because I know how this sounds. I'm not telling you to avoid the towns that haven't reevaluated yet. That's not the lesson. Some of the best towns in the state right now are the towns whose assessments have not caught up yet. The lesson you need to know is which situation you're walking into and price it into your numbers. If I know a town is 3 years from a reval and I know the prices are up 40%, when I'm sitting with a buyer running the monthly number, I don't use today's tax bill. I use today's bill and then I show them the number after the reval and we make sure they're comfortable with it. Same house, two numbers, you decide, but with your eyes wide open. That's the difference between buying a house and being comfortable in it and buying a house and having to call your agent in 3 years and say, hey, this is more than we bid off. Can you help us sell it? And I mentioned this too. Don't take the listing sheets or the listing agent's word for it either. The tax figure on the listing is what the number got typed in. Sometimes people make mistakes. It could be from a different property card. It could have just been entered incorrectly. I've seen listings in the state off by $3,000. Not that somebody's being dishonest. It's just a field somebody filled in once and they didn't verify it. This is something you can 100% check yourself and understand what the exposure actually is. If a town hasn't reevaluated since 2021 and the prices in that town are up 40% since 2021, the reeval is going to move your assessment. It's going to move it a lot, all at once. In 1 year, that's not a maybe, that's math. And it's coming on a schedule that the state sets, not one that the town picks. If your town isn't on the list of the 25 I just read, its reeval is somewhere in the next 4 years. You should know which year. And if you're buying at the top of your budget, where an extra $150 a month is the difference between comfortable and tight, you need to know before you write an offer, not after. That is the single most expensive thing people moving to the state or moving in general don't find out until it's too late. So here's what I want you to actually do. It's ask 2 questions. Question 1, what year did this town last reevaluate? Call the assessor's office and ask. They will tell you. They're not hiding it. And it takes 90 seconds. Ask them when the next scheduled assessment is while you have them on the phone. Question 2, what is the specific house that you're looking at currently assessed at? Not the town average, the house you're looking at. That number is public. It's often on the town's website. Just Google town of whatever assessment. It's on the property card. Take that assessment, multiply it by the current mill rate, divide it by 1,000. That's your bill. Not an estimate, not a Zillow guess. That's the real number. And then if the town reevaluated a while back, go find what similar houses are selling for right now. Take 70% of that, multiply by the rate, and that's your bill after the next reeval, approximately. You'll have both numbers this year and that year and decide with your eyes wide open. And one more thing, while you're in there, when you pull that property card, look at what the house is assessed at versus what it's listed for. If a house is listed at $450,000 and it's assessed at $210,000, That tells you the assessment's stale. And you now know something that the town cycle without calling anybody, it's probably due for a reevaluation. If it's listed at 450 and it's assessed right around 315, then it might be a little more current. That number you're looking at is probably the number you're going to pay. That one comparison takes you about 15 seconds per house, and nobody actually does it. Do it on every house. It's free, and it's the closest thing to a crystal ball you're going to get in this business. So you want to know the two Connecticut towns where one has half the mill rate of the other, but the other has a bigger tax bill. Before I give it to you, we are one of the most trusted real estate brokerages in Connecticut. We are one of the highest rated on Zillow. We've helped over 5,000 clients buy and sell property here in Connecticut. Call me, text me, book a Zoom link with me down below. We've got your back when you're coming to Connecticut, whether you're buying or selling here. The two towns are Oxford and Torrington. Oxford's mill rate is 20.01. Torrington's mill rate, 38.45. Torrington's rate is nearly double Oxford's. And if you're scanning a list of Connecticut mill rates, Oxford looks like a bargain. Torrington looks like the place to avoid. Both of these towns reevaluated this year, so it's apples to apples, current assessments, current rates, no games. Oxford's median sales price is $589,000. Run the math. 70% of that is $412,300 times 20.01. Your tax bill is $8,250. Torrington's median sales price is $285,000. 70% of that, $199,500. Take that giant tax number, 38.45. Your tax bill is roughly $7,671 a year. Torrington, with nearly double the mill rate, is $579 a year cheaper. That's the whole point of this video. And number two, the mill rate is not the tax bill. The mill rate is one of two numbers, and the other number's the house. A low rate on an expensive house beats you up. A high rate on an affordable house is fine. So stop crossing towns off the list because of a number on the chart. Run the actual numbers on every house every time. If you want to see what your real monthly costs look like in Connecticut, once you put the taxes, the insurance, the energy bills all together, I made a full video on it called The Real Cost of Living in Connecticut in 2026. Click right here and I'll meet you over there.